Hey, greetings, everyone. Lieutenant Colonel Alan West, and welcome to the Steadfast and Loyal podcast.
You gotta light 'em up before they burn it down. Better dig deep, put 'em in the ground. Blood on their hands, they're hellbound. Save us all. Ooh, they're gonna burn it down. Save us all before they burn it down.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome again back to the Steadfast and Loyal podcast, and our last guest for this segment and this episode on the critical decision that we saw from the Supreme Court, the Dobbs decision, which overturned Roe v. Wade, is Abby Johnson. Abby Johnson has always been fiercely determined to help women in need. This is a desire, and it led Abby to a career with Planned Parenthood, the nation's largest abortion provider. And it also caused her to flee the organization, becoming an outspoken advocate for the pro-life movement. During her 8 years with Planned Parenthood, Abby quickly rose through the organization's ranks and became a clinic director. However, Abby became increasingly disturbed by what she witnessed. Abortion was a product Planned Parenthood was selling, not an unfortunate necessity they were fighting to decrease. Still, Abby loved the women that entered her clinic and her co-workers. Despite a growing unrest within her, she stayed on and strove to serve women in crisis. All of that changed on September the 26th of 2009 when Abby was asked to assist with an ultrasound-guided abortion. She watched in horror as a 13-week baby fought for and ultimately lost its life at the hand of an abortionist. And so now I'm joined by my fellow Texan and a great person and a dear friend, Abby Johnson. Thanks so much for joining us on the Steadfast and Loyal podcast.
Of course. I'm so glad to be here with you.
You know, Abby, for those that did not see the movie Unplanned, and I recommend that you see that movie. It's very touching. We watched it as a family. Kind of give us, a little bit about your background, because if there's anyone that understands this issue, it's you in the United States of America, because I hate to put it this way, you've been in the belly of the beast, and you were very successful. You were recognized by Planned Parenthood. And then you had that moment on the 26th of September there. So just kind of give us your background and your experience.
Yeah, Alan, I got involved as a college kid with Planned Parenthood. Didn't know much about Planned Parenthood. Didn't know much about the abortion industry. But at that time, 20 years ago, the talking point was, we're going to keep abortion safe, legal, and rare.
Yeah.
And that's what made sense to moderate Republicans. That's what made sense to independents, right? And that's what I've been telling people. If there is anyone to blame for the fall of Roe, it is the left. It is the Democratic Party. Because, 20 years ago, 15 years ago, safe, legal, and rare made sense. And it drew people in really from both sides of the aisle.
Yeah.
The reason that Roe has fallen today is because the left became so incredibly extreme on the issue of abortion. And they really became out of step with the bulk of their constituents. The majority of Americans do not want third trimester abortion. And really, the bulk of Americans do not want second trimester abortion. The United States is only one of 7 countries in the world that allows third trimester abortion. And we're talking about countries like China,
North Korea.
These are not like, countries that we want to be lockstep in with, Yeah. And so but that's what changed. Things started to change. And I remember when I was at Planned Parenthood thinking, okay, is it that the organization is changing, or is it that now I'm just so high up in management? I'm just finally seeing what we've been about all along. And I realized truly it was the latter. We had
Yeah.
always been this abortion machine selling abortions, right? It was an industry. The abortion business is a billion-dollar industry. We were about killing babies and profiting from it. That's who we were. And that's who the abortion industry still is today.
When you make that statement, that's very rarely heard out in the public sphere. So how can we do better on messaging? Because you're right, when you're starting to talk about, up to the day before birth, that's infanticide. And
Yeah.
you even have, I said in my opening monologue, states like California, Maryland, that are talking about leaving the baby and neglecting the baby and allowing it to die. That's murder,
Yeah.
without a doubt. And already what we're talking about is killing an unborn baby by some of the most heinous means. I mean, dismemberment. You could not do that to an enemy on the battlefield. If I, had troops that did something like that to the Taliban, Al Qaeda, ISIS, whomever, they're find themselves in Fort Leavenworth. So you're right. How did we allow it to get this far? I mean, did we not pay attention to it? Were they so good at hiding who they truly were? I mean, what happened?
You know what? I think abortion has continued to escalate to this level in our country because the victim of abortion is unseen.
Mm-hmm.
And, I remember, a couple of years ago when all the, BLM riots were happening and people were claiming, police brutality and, that Philando Castile guy, or whatever his name was, he was shot and all of this. And people were saying, oh, cops are shooting black men and all this kind of stuff. And I remember watching the video,
Mm-hmm.
okay, of the man that was shot. And I remember watching that. Okay. Now I am a person who supports the police. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I did not believe that was an unjust shooting. Okay. But I remember watching it. I remember watching the body cam footage and I remember just being shocked. I remember my heart just breaking, right? Because you watched a man die.
Yes.
Even though I recognized that the police officer did not do anything wrong, I watched someone die.
Mm-hmm.
And my heart was breaking because that's not normal, right? It's not normal to watch someone die. And that is why I believe abortion continues to be perpetuated the way it does in this country because the victim of abortion is unseen.
Yeah.
The victim of abortion is hidden. And we don't see that baby die. Yeah, we can see abortion victim imagery. We can see the graphic signs. Yes, we can see that. But I can tell you firsthand, Alan, that I had seen all of that too when I worked in the clinic. Mm-hmm. I had seen the bodies of aborted babies. I had seen those with my own eyes firsthand. That wasn't what changed my life. That wasn't what changed my heart. What changed my life was seeing this baby fight and struggle for his life. Mm-hmm. What changed my life was seeing this heartbeat, this rapid heartbeat, suddenly be extinguished in the blink of an eye. If we could see that, if everybody could see that, I believe that there would be more people saying this is wrong.
Yeah.
These are truly victims of violence, some of the most barbaric violence known to man.
And that's the interesting thing because you hear the left, this is women's reproductive health. And as I said, I support ovarian cancer, remedies and cervical cancers, uterine cancers, breast cancers. That's women's reproductive health. But what you're talking about is something that should be despicable to everyone, to see a child in the womb fighting for his life. Mm-hmm. No different from anyone that we see being shot or being assaulted or being assailed on the streets. This child is fighting for his life. And the left has done a very good job, I believe, and I'll see if you agree, desensitizing us to
Oh,
that,
yeah.
not really saying that this is a child, this is, some cells, a clump of cells, a fetus or whatever.
Right.
And I think it's so important we not allow them to dominate that narrative and that talking point. So now that we have had this success in this, Supreme Court decision, what's the next step? Because I don't want to see people think that this is over. How do
Yeah.
we continue to make sure we are vigilant and resolute in this pro-life movement?
Yeah, and that is one of my fears is that, particularly in these, sort of deep red states, right, where we
Hmm.
have trigger bans, we have, human life protection acts, we have, these protections for the preborn. My fear is that pro-lifers are going to go, oh, great. We've, we're done. We've done our work.
Hmm.
But the reality is that even though abortion clinics may close in these red states, even though abortion may technically be illegal in these states, abortions will continue. Abortions will continue via medication abortion.
Yeah, the
Women
Plan
are going to
C.
be, they'll be getting medication abortion pills through the mail, through other countries, through these websites. They're going to be going out of state to get abortions. In Texas, they'll be going to Mexico to get, medication abortion pills. And crisis pregnancies are not going to go away.
Yeah.
So, we have a lot of work to do. Thankfully, in the state of Texas, we have hundreds of crisis pregnancy centers who are ready to intervene, to step in, to do this mighty work to help women who are in need. And so now more than ever, we really need to double down on our efforts as pro-lifers to step in and say, you know what, we're willing to accompany you. We're willing to journey with you. We want to do that. If people are listening, if you're not donating monthly to a crisis pregnancy center or pro-life group in your area, you need to be doing that.
Absolutely.
And, you need to be vetting the centers that you want to give to, and you need to be giving. Even if it's only, $10 a month, it's still $10 more than they have. But we all need to be giving monthly. We all need to be encouraging our churches to get involved. We all need to be doing something. We need to be doing more than what we have been doing.
The interesting thing you just brought up about these abortion pills and maybe going to Mexico, think about this tragedy, how the Mexican cartels are putting fentanyl into all of these different pills and drugs, and that's the number one killer of Americans 18 to 45, over 100,000 last year drug overdoses. I would hate to see us give an opportunity to China and Mexico to put fentanyl in these, abortion pills. And the next thing you know, we have women that are losing their lives and dying all over this country.
Well, yeah, and it's completely unregulated, Alan. So, I mean, we're getting I know women who are getting these drugs from India, from China, from everywhere. They're getting it from all over the world. It's completely unregulated. Who knows? Who knows what's in these drugs? Who knows if it's even medication abortion drug? We don't even know. These women don't even know. They're just trusting. They're paying $100. They're just trusting some, random person to send them medication in the mail. And they're not even checking to see how far along these women are in their pregnancies. They're not even checking to see how old these women are. I mean, this could be a 13-year-old girl getting this medication in the mail. She could be abused. She could be trafficked. And we know that abusers love to cover up their crimes by using abortion. This is further, just perpetuating that abuse. I mean, this is so bad for women. This is not women's rights. This is not progress. This is regression. Really. And the fact that women are supporting this, the fact that they are, out here championing this, it is so disgusting. It is so sick. And I just have to believe that people really don't know what's going on here. Or if they do, they're just really sick. It's demonic.
Yeah. Well, the sad reality is that you and I live here in Texas, and we're the number one state in the United States of America for human and sex trafficking. And Houston and Dallas, I live right here in the Dallas area, top two cities for sex trafficking in the United States of America. And with the fentanyl, coming across the border, the last thing we need is to expose our women, young girls, whomever, to the dangers of these drugs that could be flowing into our country. Abby, I know you got to run, so tell us, how can people follow you, where you're going to be speaking next, because your voice is so important. Because like I said, You've been there, you've done that, you've got the T-shirt. You know, we have a saying in the military that some people talk the talk, but they don't walk the walk. You've done it, and you're walking that walk, and you're making a difference. So how can people stay in touch with you and follow you?
Sure. They can find me at my website, abbyj.com, abbyj.com. They can find my ministries there. My socials are all over the place. I have a podcast called Politely Rude. Fits my personality. They can find that wherever they listen to podcasts. And I'm all over. I speak all over the place. They can Google me and find out where I'm going to be.
Great. And I hear the kids in the background.
Yes.
What are their ages again?
15, 10, 9, 8, 7, 5, 5, and 3.
Awesome. Be fruitful and multiply. Abby Johnson, the dear friend, thank you so very much for being on the Steadfast and Loyal podcast. God bless you.
Thank you.
You got it. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so very much for joining us on this episode of the Steadfast and Loyal podcast. You know, our mission here is to make sure that we better inform you, educate you, and activate you on these critical issues that we see come facing us here in the United States of America right now. And if you like this podcast, please share it and please hit that like button, because we want to make sure that this message is getting out. And when I think about what we discussed tonight, the very first inalienable right that we have in the Declaration of Independence, endowed to us from our Creator God, is life. We're coming up on the 246th remembrance, anniversary, celebration of the Declaration of Independence. The 4th of July, 1776, our Independence Day. And I don't care what the left talks about with this 1619 project. America was not established when the quote-unquote first slave ship arrived here. America is a unique country, a country that recognizes that the individual is sovereign because your rights come from a sovereign God. A God that says, choose life so that you and your generation shall live. That's Deuteronomy 30 and 19. Even David talking about the blessings of children, like arrows in the quiver, and blessed is the man that has them. Men, we need to stand up and let our voices be heard for life, because guess what? Life starts with us. And we need to fight and protect our children and grandchildren, unborn and born. And we need to make sure that we protect them from all these harms and dangers that are out there. Since 1973, some 60 million babies in the United States of America murdered in the womb. Dismemberment, like I said, sucked up in a vacuum like a piece of lint. And as you heard Abby said, she saw that child in the womb fighting for its life to get away from that suction tube. That's a child that will never see an Independence Day in the United States of America. And sadly, there have been so many black children that will never know of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s dream. Many children won't ever know the American dream. So let's stand up for life, because we don't want to be judged as a barbaric society. We don't want to be in the same line or light as a China or a North Korea. But yet that's where some people would like for us to be. Infanticide, killing our babies, that's not the better angels of our nature, which is what Abraham Lincoln talked about. Thank you for watching. Thank you for joining. Have a happy Independence Day. But when you're there with your children and grandchildren, whether you're grilling a little hot dog for them or jumping in the pool with them, or at night watching the fireworks go off, hold them tight. And always remember that the first inalienable right that we have in our Declaration of Independence is life. Thanks so much to producer Chad, executive producer Lisa, and my dear buddy CW3 Ryan Weaver for our theme song. Have a great night.
Before they burn it down.